Get excited, viewers, because on today's show, we're diving into the turmoil behind Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show. Then, for our case, growing out of gaming. What is it like to move on from the world of video games and leave your gaming group behind? Stay tuned for our discussion. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, growing out of gaming.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, video games, board games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for future episodes, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also support the show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial for just a few bucks a month, and you'll gain early access to both our audio and video episodes before they're released to the general public.
Ivan?
Yes?
What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Glassesless again, I see.
Yeah, well, I don't see.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I'll do the seeing for both of us.
Thank you.
We've got some things to talk about today. We've got a big case that centers around video games, but before we get into it, we got this little pop culture story that popped up in the culture. You brought this one to my attention. It involves a story that came out recently in Rolling Stone, I believe.
Rolling Stone magazine, all the news
Others have picked it up, sure.
Every major news platform.
And the story is about the behind the scenes of Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show, which has been airing on NBC for 9 years, I believe is the number, which feels at the same time to me like a long time, and also feels like it should be more than that.
Well, because I feel like because he's had the Tonight Show and the Late Night Show, what was that called? Was it Late Night? Yeah, Late Night Show. It feels like he's been on for like 30 years.
I honestly kind of forgot he also had Late Night before the Tonight Show.
Well, because it was the exact same show. He just moved it to 11:30.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we all love the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show, right? All of America tunes in every single night pre-writer strike at 11:30 to view the Tonight Show. It gets millions of views and ratings. It's just like the Tonight Show of old with Johnny Carson. Hasn't floundered a bit. It's right. The same talk of the town it's always been.
Still 1960s, an hour and a half long, and Ed McMahon is still there.
He's still there. At least his bones are somewhere buried in the building, I believe. Well, it turns out behind the scenes things are not so jovial. The story came out that talked to many employees of the Tonight Show, and the gist of it is that they say it's not well run, that Jimmy Fallon has frequent mood swings, that he mistreats the crew and the writers, and that if he's in a bad mood, everyone is on full alert and they have anxiety attacks. There's been talk about him possibly being drunk or hungover and that causing issues during the day while on the job, while filming. And just generally speaking, kind of being organizationally a mess. The show has had, I think the number is 6 different showrunners.
Which is insane for 9 years. That's like...
Yes. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of turnover.
Like The Simpsons has been on for about 300 years and they've had like, what, 4?
Right. Most shows, Saturday Night Live has had 1.
Right.
Most shows certainly don't go through that many. There's not that often of a change. So it's a wild thing to hear about. And it feels like this is something that maybe is starting to come out more and more. I feel like to me, the biggest example of this recently is Ellen. I feel like that's the big...
Yes.
Everyone talking about how mean Ellen DeGeneres actually is.
During COVID, too. Well, during the COVID strike, Ellen hired scabs to come work on her show so she can still film from home. Or there's something along the lines where she wasn't hiring her actual crew because she didn't want to pay for them. Where it doesn't sound like Fallon was hiring, because he's off the air right now because of the writer's strike. But it just sounds like he's not the same Jimmy Fallon that we all know and love on TV.
Right.
Which, if you go back in time to different, talk show hosts, you look at David Letterman, Ellen DeGeneres, Jay Leno, even Conan and people like that, people always think, oh, I'm going to get a job working with this comedian. They're going to be on all the time. They're going to be cracking jokes. They're going to be lighthearted. And they're not. They're,
sure.
If you think about it, like, it is Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show. So, like, anything, if a bad joke hits, if it's a good joke or whatever, all the pressure does go onto him or whoever's running the show. So it's like, there is going to be a lot of stress, but to actually take it out on your employees is kind of screwed up, because, like, without any of these people, Jimmy Fallon doesn't have a show.
Or at least it's not quite as elaborate.
Right.
It's
him.
Maybe the cameras aren't on.
It's this show.
It's the podcast he's doing now.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, to some extent, like you were saying, he's the boss. There's expected, he's not your uncle. He's not your buddy.
Right.
He's got to run a show. He's got to run a tight ship. It is surprising to me, I have to say, because with the Ellen example, I never really watched Ellen, but I believe it. You know what I mean? Like, I look at Ellen and I'm like,
right.
Yeah, she seems like maybe she's mean. Yeah, maybe this is sexism. Very possible. But I don't necessarily love the Jimmy Fallon Tonight Show or even any, like, his comedy in general. Regardless of whether I do or don't, it's not like the subject.
Right.
He's always struck me as, if nothing else.
Wait. He struck you?
Oh, this is kind of what I'm coming forward about. Yeah.
Oh.
He has always struck me.
Wow. Huh, I didn't even know you knew him.
Yeah, well, I don't.
He just shows up and just back of the hands
in front of his house sometimes.
Oh, that's you.
Whether or not he strikes me, he has also metaphorically and figuratively struck me as, not metaphorically really, more figuratively, as a goofy, funny, friendly guy. Like,
right.
I never believed, even now, I don't feel like, if he's doing an act, it's very convincing. Like, when you see him, if anything, my criticism of Jimmy Fallon would be that he's too genuine. Like,
right.
Like, sometimes he's not funny enough because he just seems like a guy who's just joking around like a regular guy, which I think is part of his appeal. The
thing that, like, 30 Rock, they made fun of him for this. It's like, he's always the sound bite they used to use is, hey guys, how's it going? I'm Jimmy Fallon. Like, he's like overly, like, you can see Jimmy Fallon like going to play frisbee golf with you in a park. Or, like, he's at the party. He's the guy with, like, the blunt on a couch. Like, hey, Jimmy Fallon, how's it going?
Well, he's the guy on Saturday Night Live who was famous for cracking up in every one of his sketches.
Right. And then, like, thinking about all of that, it's like, oh, was that all fake? Was that all, like,
But I don't think it was. Yeah.
Or is he trying to still match that, 20-year-old Jimmy Fallon while he's in charge of a giant show? And it's just the stress is getting to him and...
Yeah, I mean, there's a very different thing of being a cast member on a show and being the star and running the show.
Right.
And maybe maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a lot of pressure, but you would think, I don't know, 9 years is a long time to be doing a show. I don't know. I have no idea what the experience of running the Tonight Show is. Right. So I can't, like, speak to it.
But, like, if you think about other people, like, if you think about, like, we both watched Conan O'Brien for years.
You sure
and, like,
did.
Conan always had that kind of, like, I'm better than you persona, but that was on air. So, like, I kind of feel like he had that backstage too.
It's so funny because I feel like he's also he kind of is at this. I know what you're saying with that, but he's also extremely self-deprecating. Like,
yeah, it's both. It's like, he
it depends on who he's bouncing off of, I think.
Right. But I think it's also like the Harvard energy where, like, you don't get that from Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon's like, you get that, like, oh, right. He just didn't go to college. He just came off of this thing. And it was like, I'm a bro with the show.
Maybe that's part of it. Maybe you shouldn't trust the people who seem too nice and genuine. Like you said, Conan, you can kind of see, so, like, especially on his podcast and in other appearances, or maybe when you can kind of see, like, where he can be a little more serious sometimes and he takes it seriously. And maybe maybe he's more honest about that.
Where, like, the people like Jimmy Fallon and, like, Ellen, it's like they have that, like, oh, I could approach them at any time. Where, like, the Conans and even, like, David Letterman, like, you could even see if something didn't go right on their show. You could see in their eyes, you're like, someone's getting yelled at.
Dave Letterman, now that's a guy who I'm like, God bless him, but I wouldn't. If I saw him in public, I'd be like, he's gonna get mad at me. Like I don't, not, and that'll be my fault. Like I don't want to bother him.
Right.
Yeah, but
but that's also, let's talk about that too, because that's a different era. So like back in the day, celebrities didn't seem like fully approachable like they do now, and I think people see Jimmy Fallon and like different celebrities who are always on. Where like back in the day, Letterman, you only saw him for an hour every night, and maybe the occasional video, like a TV interview. Where now it's like, oh, you see this Jimmy Fallon being nice and funny and whatever on TikTok, YouTube, on TV, doing shorts. So it's like, oh yeah, I could just approach this person. And it's like the same thing with like, there's some issues with Lizzo as well, where it's like, oh yeah, they seem like, oh, they're on TikTok all the time. We're seeing into their inside world. They seem super nice and like approachable and not mean at all. But like, it's like, you know, it's a persona. It's like Stephen Colbert versus Stephen Colbert.
but what about Stephen Colbert?
Oh shit. But you should never like mistreat your employees. Like they were talking about, like, there was like a crying room, like where people are like so upset and stuff like that. And like, you should never have to be that upset at a place of business to like where you have to come out and be like, I need to leave here. And I think that's also a thing that's coming out more now with COVID, people working from home, you know, union strikes, and people being like, I deserve more. This isn't like 20 years ago where it's like, you know, I need this job, there's no other jobs. Like, we're realizing our potentials as humans, and like we're taking being a human first, then just, oh, I have a job at the Tonight Show, I guess Jimmy Fallon can kick me when he wants to, you know.
Yeah. In some ways it's maybe not surprising, but unfortunately surprising that it took this long for something like this to come out if it's been going on for the run of the show. I have to assume the reason they went through so many showrunners is because of this kind of behind the scenes, right. I don't want to say turmoil again, but it's such a good word for it. The turmoil.
Well, but think about it. Like if you got a job writing at the Tonight Show,
right,
this would probably be like an amazing job for you. You'd be like, okay, I guess I'll take Jimmy being an asshole or whoever. And it's like, okay, but now it's just like, okay, there's 4 million TV channels, 4 billion TV shows that you can go get a job at. You know, you could just say, oh, I got a job at the Tonight Show. Jimmy's being a little bit of a douche. I'm going to leave.
Yeah, I mean, even then, it's even though the Tonight Show is not exactly the same, you know, high caliber of, like back in the day, the Tonight Show was, you know, Johnny Carson was God of television.
Well, there's also only 6 channels.
Yes, there's a number of factors to it, but even still,
yeah,
if you are a writer and you say I work for the Tonight Show, you've made it. Like
you've written your own check. Yeah,
that's your goal. Like that's you know, that's pretty amazing. So I mean,
understand. For most comedians, it was like, oh, I can go talk for 5 minutes on the Tonight Show. I'm set.
Yeah, absolutely. We should say that Jimmy Fallon apparently had a Zoom meeting with his staff after this came out and apologized to them and said it was like very embarrassing for him. He didn't really directly address any of the claims, at least that has been publicized.
Well, it sounds like he was saying to them, this is embarrassing for me. Stop it now.
And there was also a thing where there was a story about Jerry Seinfeld telling him to apologize to a crew member. And Jerry Seinfeld commented and said, that's blown out of proportion. We were just joking around. This is stupid. I don't even know what they're talking about. Right. So there's a couple maybe dissenting things there. From the article, it sounds like most of the employees, none of them had anything good to say about the working environment.
But let me ask you this question, because like, you know, Jimmy and Jerry are kind of like on maybe not the same plane, but like they're both big household names, and like them siding together and like Jerry being like, oh, you know, it wasn't that big of a deal. But Jerry could be the same kind of person because like he's a big name celebrity, and like having a celebrity be like, oh, it's not that big of a deal that somebody said something to you, but like you've been
impossible to know
for years. Yeah. You know,
right? I wasn't there. It's a he said, she said. Right. They said.
Well, and that's the issue with a lot of things too. It's like, you know, unless you have video evidence of it, we don't know what actually happened. And like, you know, I'm sure somebody's going to have videos leak of like this Zoom meeting or whatever, because it's like everybody has a cell phone now. So come on,
we all
let's
have
get
cell
real.
phones. But regardless, clearly, I don't think this story would exist or if it weren't like the vast majority, if not 100% of the staff, it sounds like, are in agreement that this environment has been really bad. So
Now let me ask you, would you like go to, like, if you were working for Jimmy Fallon and it was like, or anybody, and they were like giving you a hard time, would you like go to somebody, or would you just walk off the job?
Well, this is Jimmy Fallon or anybody are two very different situations.
Well, anybody in Hollywood, like Tonight Show, Colbert, like.
I probably wouldn't do anything. No.
Now, would you, if it was a regular 9-to-5 job?
If it was a regular job, I'd probably just quit, or
Right.
I'd try to find another job and then quit.
Because we kind of had this issue in a job that we've both had together, where the public figurehead of this job was kind of behind the scenes an asshole, and then like the following summer we're like, we're good.
I mean, it's different circumstances. We were much younger,
right?
And it wasn't a prestigious job of any kind,
and it wasn't 2023.
Right. But hopefully Jimmy Fallon, I want to like him. That's the thing that sucks, is I and it's also hard because it's not sometimes you do the separate the art from the artist thing,
right?
And you can say, like, whatever you think about Woody Allen or Michael Jackson, I still like his music, but
right.
Like Jimmy Fallon, his brand is who he is.
Exactly. Right.
So
like it's not like it's, he's playing a bit. He's playing him.
So it's tough. But I like I said, ideally he changes, and
now it is
the show gets great ratings, so I don't think it's going anywhere.
This did happen during the writer's strike. Like, people are at home, like, they're not working. So it's just like people have been stewing on this, sitting at home. And it's like, maybe it's time to, like, come out and say this. Or it's like, has it gotten worse because they're not at work? And it's like he's sending out, like, mean emails and, like,
I would guess a lot of people who wouldn't have said anything while they were working now are like, what do I have to lose? I'm not working anyway.
I don't have any stress now. I'm at home. What's the one thing that's stressing me? Oh, Fallon.
Well, I want us to de-stress, and I want us to move on from Fallon. God damn it, Jimmy Fallon. You're just the worst person I know. We're going to try to move on from him to today's case. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our episode description. Our defendant today is Jason. Jason is a former gamer who's been gaming with his group of gaming buds since back in the PS2 days, which is
old.
Zoomers. You'll have to look that one up. But around the time Jason graduated from high school along with his friends, he lost his gaming spark, finding that the gaming hobby no longer brought him any joy. Still, his friends insist that he join them for their weekly online gaming sessions, hounding him with questions about why he doesn't want to join in. Jason has tried to explain to them that he just doesn't love gaming anymore, but they think he is being rude. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Jason's gaming gap is good or if he's not gaming like he should.
You should never look at another gamer's gap. That is rude. That'll get you on a list.
It depends where you are. If you're in London, you're supposed to mind it.
If you're buying jeans, you might be at a store.
And if it's a baby gap, the train was headed there. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop it.
Baby gap. So
I want my baby gap, baby gap, baby gap.
Chili's baby gap ribs,
jeans. Okay, they should do a thing where you're at Chili's and like in the Chili's there's also a baby gap.
Does Chili's serve chili?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say yes.
I was gonna say no.
There's no way to find out, unfortunately.
Too bad. So you are a gamer. I am a gamer.
True.
You I would say are more of a gamer than I am.
More gamery.
You're more gamery. You have that smell. You have that gamer odor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Take that as you will. Mm-hmm. And like, there have been times where like back in the day, college, high school, even before that, you and I were probably both the same level of gamer. And And I do think, like me personally, I did slip a little into non-gaming for one reason or the other. Maybe not like I still play the games. Like I was playing games the other day. I'm actually gaming right now.
What are you playing? Kegels?
Yeah, I'm playing Kegels the game. It's on the PS5.
That's how you pronounce it, right?
Yeah, that's how I pronounce it.
Okay, great.
Hold on. And 500.
Oh, nice. New high score.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bejeweled, what have you.
Oh,
yeah,
I used the Bejewels in my Kegel. Anyway.
Understood. Is it because why do you think do you not find you have as much fun playing games anymore? Do you find it harder to keep up with them? Is it just you found another hobby or
crippling depression?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. ADHD? Because I have right next to me, right here actually, I have a bright white shiny PS5 with games that I've started, haven't finished. And I want to play them, and then I'm like, oh, I should play this game. 5 hours goes by, and day's over.
Isn't it? There's something truly bad about when you're not productive. Because this happens to me frequently when I'm like, I have things that I should do,
right,
and then I have things that I want to do,
right,
and then I have what I actually do, which is nothing,
right.
and sometimes I'll have a mindset of, I'll say, well, I didn't do the thing I should do, so therefore I don't deserve to play the video game right now.
Oh, so you're like a self-deprecating? Is that the word?
No, it's self-disciplining.
Yeah.
I'll feel guilty if I play a video game because I know I should be working on this thing. But then I'll procrastinate on the thing I should be working on, and I'll realize by the end of the day, well, wait, I actually didn't do either. Not only did I not get the work done, I also didn't enjoy myself.
Right.
So I got the worst of both worlds.
Yeah. No, welcome to my life. Because it'll be like a Thursday or a Wednesday, and I'll be like, oh, I should be editing this video. And then I'll be like, oh, but video games. Oh, but look, my bed.
For me, that problem is the internet because it's so easy to go, I'll start on that, but let me just refresh Twitter a couple times.
Well, that was going to be my question for you. Do you think it is easier to forget about video games and stuff like that because we have Instagram, Snapchat, like all these websites that like are literally designed to keep you going back in and addicting to like where you and I were in high school? We didn't have smartphones. We had the internet, but it wasn't like, the internet as we know it today. Most of our interneting was about gaming.
Right. I was on there to find cheat codes
or porn.
Video game porn.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, certainly I think what it is the barrier to entry. That is a big part of it because there's no barrier to entry to looking at Instagram.
Right.
You pick up your phone and you can stop anytime you want.
That's what they always say. That's what they always
right.
I can stop anytime I want. I swear I can stop.
But psychologically in your head, it's like, as opposed to, and movies are kind of the same video, but we'll keep it to video games. A video game it's like, all right, I got to sit down. Now is the time I'm going to commit. Assuming there's different levels of video games, because for some people, probably if you're talking about Fortnite or even Bejeweled or something like that, then at that point, maybe it's much more pick up and play. But
a good video game should have multiple levels. Otherwise, it's just a bad video game.
Yeah, if there's just one level, that's probably just a prototype. It's not finished yet.
Right.
I'm more about like I tend to enjoy the longer single player focused games. We've talked about this before. We're not really like the online gamer types. But even that can have it feels like you've got to be in the zone and the mindset for it. Right. So maybe that's part of it. And maybe that's part of Jason's problem.
And like for me, like I need to amp myself up to doing nothing, which is a video game. Like I need to like usually people are like, oh yeah, I need to amp myself up to go play sports or go leave the house. For me, it's like, nope. Okay. I need to block this time out, play video game, amp myself up for it. For what? Just sitting in a chair with a controller.
But and the other part, which I kind of started talking about too, is that a video game often feels like, I think while you're playing a video game or watching a movie or many other activities, sometimes you're thinking in your head, what could I be doing instead of this?
Right. And then you self-guilt.
Self-guilt, self-phone too. Think about that.
He's right. I did.
Okay. Okay, good. So we're on the same page then. And that's where I think the deviousness of the smartphone comes in, because it's always there and you're like, what am I missing on Twitter?
Also, too, like I could blame a lot of this on being in a relationship too, being like, oh, I don't want to play this video game because downstairs in the living room, my partner is playing a video game. Now, but it's like, oh, I want to be spending time with Danny while he's home, and like, we should be doing something together. Maybe we should find a 2-player game or do something together, where in reality, I'll be sitting on the couch, he's sitting in his chair, and we have a TV show in the background where we're both looking at cell phones.
What you could be doing is both playing a Switch and something on the TV.
Right. But
or a computer game.
No.
Yeah, well, and it's Jason's case here. It sounds like for him, he doesn't really give any specific root causes. He just simply says he no longer has fun playing games.
Now, I do in the, if you dig deeper, they do say ages.
Let's dig deep.
And like, he said, this kind of stopped after he left high school, or like the word puberty came up, and like, did like other things, get in the way. Like, oh, I was playing games, but now, significant others are in the mix, or like, I'm now going out and doing sports, or, other things that take gaming. Or is it just like, is it the mix of friends he's with?
He didn't say sports though, did he?
No, but I just kind of threw sports in there.
Yeah, it does.
There has to be something else he's doing.
Sure, another hobby or something. But I mean, it's possible for someone to just not like video games anymore, right?
Yeah.
It's hard for me.
Wait, is it?
It is honestly hard for me to imagine this, because for all of the things I like to do, I have liked to do my whole life.
Right.
I truly can't think of, there's not like anything that there's specific, like maybe I have grown out of a game.
Or like a style
or
of game.
Or a type of game. Yeah.
Right.
But I can't imagine a world when I don't like video games anymore.
Now, let me ask you this. As a child, were you always gaming? Or like, did you go to karate, soccer? Like, did you do other things?
I did some of that stuff when I was little. Yeah, I did.
Because for me, my activity was gaming. So like at times I do link that to, well, maybe this is a childish thing.
Well, that's a common perception in society.
But look at, like, I did a deep dive on myself in these games. Most games now are really aimed towards like teen and adults. Not like in theme, but like what they are. Like, Mario is now, it's a kid's game, but it came out like when we were kids and is now something that's been in our lives forever.
Yeah, I mean, this is well documented. Video games started out as toys.
Right.
They were aimed at kids because that's the market they saw. And as time has gone on, they realized the kids grew up and they kept wanting to play.
I just was thinking about it. It is quite interesting to think about, like, with cartoons, movies, and TV shows, characters come around every so often. There's like characters that I don't even know about when like people are watching, kids shows like, Paw Patrol or whatever. And like, if you think about Nintendo and different video games, it's been roughly the same characters and the same franchises for 35 years at this point. And people just hop on the bandwagon. Like, the Mario movie did so well with kids, and it's aimed at us. Like video games,
in a way, yeah.
Video games and I guess comics are those rare exceptions to where it's like the same character has been around for 35 years. And even like, or like TV shows, you can't really get away with that.
Yeah, maybe there's
TV shows.
Maybe there's some like, I mean, it's not as old, but I have a feeling that in 20 years, SpongeBob will still be around.
Right. Or like, I guess like a Bugs
Sesame
Bunny,
Street.
Mickey Mouse. Yeah.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny, sure.
But like, if you look at like the wide range of video games, even Minecraft, which is like every kid plays Minecraft, has been around for probably almost 20 years at this point. And like video games, I think just have so much more staying power. And I can see why people would get bored and stray from video games.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's hard for me to relate to, but it is the case. It is what's happening to Jason. And certainly there's not anything, if that's what's happening to you,
Right.
if you don't like something, yeah, that's like there's nothing wrong with it, you.
Did
It's
he
just
say
what's
how old
happening
he
to you.
was?
I don't know how old he is currently, but I assume they're in college, maybe
Because
a few years past college.
I can see that too, because there was a time where like I slowed down gaming and then picked it back up. Because like at that point in your life, you're life experiencing. You're like I said, dating, going out doing new things. If you're in college, drinking. Like there's other things that you're like doing that fill your time. Where like when you're still in school, like public school and whatever, you're like, okay, fine, I do my 8 hours and then the time is mine to do whatever.
Yeah, I don't have any life experiences, but that certainly happens to me where I might go a month where I don't really play any video games, but
Right.
then the next month a new game comes out and I'm playing it every single day. So
Right.
I will definitely go through, ebbs and flows, what have
Right.
you.
How are
So
they?
that's like another thing.
How are
the
ebb and flow doing?
ebbs are flowy.
Okay.
The flows not ebby enough.
Ah, damn.
You alluded to another possible idea here, which is the rest of the friend group.
Right.
Now, Jason says he loves these guys. He insists that he has nothing against them, and it's from what he's saying. This is not it's not like they're mean to him while they're playing, or that he doesn't enjoy spending time with them.
He just doesn't like set activity. But it does sound like the way he was saying it sounds like he might not like them and not realize it. Because because like he was saying like, oh, the times I do come on and kind of like play games with them, they all like not gang up on me, but they, I guess, all gang. Oh, why aren't you playing games? What game don't you like? Why aren't you playing this? Like it seems like they're pushing him into like liking the things again.
Yeah, which I mean, I kind of sympathize with that a little bit. I can imagine if you were playing games with the group every week and that's how you get together with your friends, and one like that, he doesn't specify, but I'm assuming these people don't live near each other currently.
Well, it's hard to tell too, because like don't forget, back in the day for us to play video games, we had to be in somebody's house.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know if these friends are like people he actually knows or knows them digitally.
My reading of it, my reading of it is that they went to high school together.
Okay.
And now they're in college and they're apart, and these are online gaming sessions. That's was my understanding.
Which like we kind of did that too, because like we all were around, we all graduated roughly the same time, our friend group, and we didn't go to the same colleges. We were local-ish, but like we would go online, and that's how we like hung out. Was we would play video games or go on chat or whatever. So it's like, I feel like the video game aspect would be how he interacts with these people more. Yeah, if they're not local.
You were saying Minecraft and Monster Hunter and whatever other games that allowed it, stuff on Steam, Counter-Strike. I don't know that. Yeah, it's a great way to do an activity with someone who's not near you. I mean, we don't need to explain that now, especially post-COVID with Jackbox.
Let's explain it now.
Well, it's not a truck, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
But that's as far as I'll go.
Okay.
He doesn't specify. He mentions Halo. He mentions that they played Halo, but he doesn't specify. I don't know if it's Halo every week still, or if they switched the game up.
Because that would be problematic for me too. Because like if we've been playing the same Halo game for 5 years, I would be like, can we like switch? Maybe he's getting bored.
They did. I mean, there is a new Halo, so.
Is there?
But it came out a year ago.
Oh.
I think that can be an important factor that we don't know, because there's different kinds of games.
Right.
And there's certain games that I would feel like, oh, this is a game that I have to really be into and enjoy. Right. But there's some games I could see, even Minecraft, I think, is a great example, maybe a Fortnite, or maybe even a Halo, where it could be, this is sort of the excuse to hang out. This is like going to the park or the coffee shop with your friends.
It's not an in-depth game, but it's like something you can do in the background while you're shooting a shit.
It's how you get together. Exactly. So I don't know. There is part of me, part of me feels like, of course, I don't think Jason is necessarily doing anything wrong, but I also feel like how he says he doesn't get joy out of video games anymore, but he doesn't say that they actively pain him.
Right.
Right.
Hey, this could be a thing. Like, he doesn't say what he gets joy in. So this could be like an emotional thing too. Like, okay, what's going on? Are you just not getting joy out of things anymore?
That's possible too. Well, I think now is the time when we ask the question, what in Jason's shoes, what would you do? What would you say to these friends? Or would you leave the group? Would you keep playing? What would you do?
It's difficult. So, like, I'm assuming, once again, it's an online game. Now, I'm just going to backpedal a little bit. I did play back in the day, I guess it was Halo 1, Halo 2. And, those games we played as a different friend group. We would go over each other's houses, the kids who lived, like, in the same town. And we would play Halo every day after school, every week, whatever. And it's like, it gets tiring. It's like there's X amount of levels. The same person, Johnny's over in the corner with his mega gun. He is always going to shoot you there. So it's like, everybody does the exact same thing all the time. And it's one of those games where it's like, that's not my jam to, like, I'm playing a numbers game. I'm playing like, I know I need to move to the left because this guy's coming at me and he does the same thing every time. So it's like, I can see how he gets bored, but what he can do is just sit there on chat. He doesn't have to play the game. He can watch it. He could be online. He could be doing whatever and still be in audio chat with these friends of his and still get the enjoyment out of being in the same group without playing the game, or recommend a new game.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that feels a little. Maybe you feel like the odd person out if everyone else is talking about stuff in the game and you're not a part of it. I mean, the only thing I can think of I could almost relate to. You were just talking about playing Civ 5 before the show, and we've played that online a few times. And there's been at least one of those times when someone said, let's play Civ 5, and I've been like, nah.
Right.
I'm not that good at it. It's not my favorite game. It takes a very long time to play.
Right.
I'm not really in the mood for it. I don't know. And maybe I could have been like, who cares about the game? We'll just hang out. But there is a part of it you want to be involved in the activity the same way as, like, if someone really doesn't like board games,
and you go to a game night.
But I still feel like, and I'm all over the place right now, but I still feel like a board game is something that like requires you to learn rules and pay attention.
Video game. You can
a video game. It's like if you're all playing Halo together, for example, and presumably you're online with like 30 other people now. It's not just you guys.
Right.
You can just kind of like cruise around the map and you don't have to
and it's more of like an open world-ish kind of game. Like you could hop in, I forgot what they call the car in that game.
The Warthog.
You could hop in the Warthog and just drive people around.
Yeah. Like you can like goof off. But maybe I'm not being it's hard. Like I said, it's hard for me to relate because I'm just like at a bare minimum, I do get some level of satisfaction just out of pressing a button and seeing a reaction on a screen.
Well, I have a real world, or I guess a digital thing about this. My fiance Danny, has played the game Rust basically every day for the last couple of months, and he's not a huge fan of the like going out and fighting the same people all the time part of that game. So like while his friends are out doing the what is it, peer-to-peer kind of thing and like going out and doing the same storyline over again. PvP, thank you. Which isn't that same thing, right?
Well, peer-to-peer is like torrenting.
Well,
we don't
PvP, he's like, okay, fine, I'll sit back and take care of the base. I'll do the farming. I'll take care of the horses. So he found something else in the game that he can do while they're out killing whatever they kill in that game, zombies or whatever.
Yeah.
He found something enjoyable. So he's still on voice chat with them out there killing, but he's at home taking care of base.
Which is probably not something that's easy to do in Halo.
Right. It's different
it's
types of,
Yeah. That it sounds to me, and again, this is me there's the part of me that's like, no, of course you still like video games. Like I can save you. That
I can save you.
Assuming they play the same game every week. Again, we don't really know.
Right.
It just sounds like you need a different game. Like maybe you need to try Stardew Valley or something.
Right.
Or
but also it's weird to me too, because like back when we're the old guys now, but like back when we were kids, there weren't as many options there's a shit ton of video games, but it's like you're playing these 5 games, they just came out, you have this computer, this console. But now it's like there are, like, if you're not a heavy gamer, just pick up a game on your phone. Pick up a game that you can, like a 2-minute game. Like you have these quick, like, what's the style of game that is like, you just mentioned it. The quick games, that like not Minecraft, video games, you know, that's like, you know, you're doing a quick fight and that fight's over in 5 rounds. And like those types of games that he can, like, he's not truly out of gaming. He just hasn't found the right game yet, because I feel like gaming now is more in the culture than it's ever been.
And it's extremely diverse. There's just so many kinds, but maybe there aren't quite as many kinds that allow for the online multiplayer aspect.
I was thinking Fortnite. Sorry.
Sure. Battle Royale games, what have you.
Yeah, because like those are short. Okay, fine. Play for 15 minutes and then you can set out.
And maybe his friends just still love Halo. Again, I'm just speculating.
Bother you? Like, okay, so we have a few workarounds with our game nights, our video games, etc. You know, for years we used to review board games, so we were forced to play different games. But would you find enjoyment, like a lot of other gaming groups, either video, RPG, tabletop, playing the same game every week? Or do you think you would grow tired of that quickly?
I think it depends on the game, of course, but in the abstract, I think I definitely could enjoy it. If there's enough depth in the game and I have enough fun, and if everyone else loves it,
right,
I would want variety too. I wouldn't want to only play that game.
Right.
But there is an appeal to like really learning a game in and out and really knowing it and your group having fun with it. Like I could probably do that with like something like The Resistance.
Right.
Or any of those social deduction kind of games, because that's interesting to me, and they're also not as long, so that helps.
Right. Well, it's also interesting to me because, like, you would think a long game would be one you would want to come back to week after week, like a Cosmic Encounter like we brought up in our last episode, where there's so many characters. There's a book of characters that you can go through that you'll never get through in your life.
I also think the more you play a game, the shorter it gets.
Well, for sure.
But
for me, I think I have that, like, the fear of missing out kind of thing too, of like, oh, we keep playing, let's use a generic Risk for every game night. And it's like, okay, but there's like 30 new games that came out this month, or even with video games, like we play Minecraft all the time. You know, there's like 400 games came out in the last year. I want to play as many as I can.
Well, you know, that happened to me literally with Minecraft in the last, or maybe it was during the pandemic. I don't know. I created a new Minecraft server with friends multiple times actually, since I've kind of found that I don't love Minecraft as much as I once did.
Right.
And back in the day, like in college, I used to be able to play it for hours and go online with friends and have so much fun.
Right.
And I've tried it again with friends online like a couple times in the past 5 or 6 years. And both times was like, guys, I just don't want to play this anymore. Right. So I can relate to, I'm just not into that game anymore. But with those friends, I would still talk to at other times.
Right. It's not like this is the only time you're seeing these people.
It sounds like in this case, this is maybe his only real main opportunity to hang out with these guys.
Well, and then that's the other thing he has to take into account. Is he liking the game, or is he not liking the people?
Right. I believe him. I don't think he dislikes the people, but that's
but like in a brand like Psychology kind of thing, like, is he hating the game because
or
of
hating the player?
Hating the player.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a possibility.
Because like I've definitely soured from certain activities and whatever, because like somebody was being a dick in it, or like it wasn't a good experience. So it's like, oh, I don't ever want to go back to doing that again.
But don't you think do you think he's just unconscious of that? I feel like he would recognize
he could
that.
be.
He could be. But he seems to say that he just doesn't like video games anymore. That's his position. I'm taking his word at face value there.
Right. And it is hard for me, like you're saying, like to be like, I don't like video games. I don't like movies, because I have very few hobbies that I actually like get behind. So it's so weird for me to be like, oh, I don't like this hobby that I've like.
It's weird.
Spent millions of dollars on over the years.
It's like saying I don't like music anymore, or like,
movies, right.
Any artistic medium, I don't understand. I mean, I can get it kind of, but like on a personal level, I just could never.
But also saying like I hate video games is like saying I hate movies, because there's like so many different flavors you can
That's
get.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's like it's so weird to be like I don't. It's like, oh, I don't like air.
Right. Food's not for me anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a strange thing, but again, it's not like a moral failing. I just don't get it. What do we think? I'm sort of mixed, as often happens on this verdict, but
well, I'm also like, okay, so explain to me, what are we?
Is it wrong for Jay? Is it guilty or not guilty for Jason to leave his gaming group? Essentially, is the question.
Okay, so we want to get into verdicts?
I guess. Do I have to start?
So for me, I'm thinking I'm split in the middle of the two, because, if he doesn't like said activity anymore, maybe he needs to go take a break. Maybe he needs to go like on a month long. He needs to go backpacking in the Alps. This is about the time people go, explore their lives and move on with things. And maybe he needs to take a break and come back to the gaming group and see what's on. Or, he needs to be like, hey, why don't we all meet up and go out for dinner and see if it is the friend group and see if it is or the game. I guess it would probably be easier just to play the game with a different group.
Again, they might not be. I don't know if they live near each other, but
right.
This is all hypothetical.
I'm very much split on it, because like he isn't. I might have to say I'm mistrial on this one.
Oh, so declaring a mistrial.
Because like I feel bad for being like, you're guilty for not liking this game anymore, or like you're guilty for not being a gamer anymore and leaving the game group. I would say it's a mistrial for me.
All right, that's your final position?
Yeah.
Well, I think by default, then the episode's a mistrial, because if one of us says mistrial, it's got to be a mistrial.
Because and you also feel like I feel like this thing that you said, you might be leaning that direction too. But
I sympathize.
I don't know you.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. Like you said, I don't think Jason. It's very hard. I don't think he's in the wrong for not being into games anymore.
Right.
But part of me does feel like, come on, like why not just hang out with them, even if you don't love, like, are you actively being bored and miserable playing the game? Like, is it that bad that if they're all like, please, we want to hang out with you, you can't just for a couple hours a week just log on and play Halo? Like, would that be so hard?
Right. Unless he had like something else to do, like if there was something else filling that time, but it doesn't, I don't know.
But then on the other perspective, it's also, I don't know, like they shouldn't be, it's his right to do it, and again, it's so much, I feel like for me depends on what kind of game this is, and should he be, I guess I'll just take your side. I feel like I was kind of leaning, if I like have to make a choice, I think I would call Jason not guilty. But
I do think it's kind of like okay, fine, he's friends with these people, and it's like he's kind of being a dick to be like, okay, I don't like this game anymore, I'm leaving you guys, bye.
Yeah,
it's like you have bonds over other things. I'm hoping.
It doesn't sound like he does not mention if he has made any effort to suggest an alternative. I think that's a big thing. He just says no to gaming. He never says, he said, oh, why don't instead we could, Because there's other stuff you could do online. You could just chat. You could play an online role-playing game. You could sync up a movie or a TV show.
Right.
There's ways to do stuff like that online, or even like Jackbox, which is technically a video game, but it's pretty, not really a video game. There's stuff you can make work like that.
Or even just like digital hangouts. You can go, and do those kind of things.
Yeah. So maybe I'm leaning more towards a guilty, but I think it should be a mistrial probably.
Well, because I'm also talking myself into guilty as well. Well, because
Fuck
it's like
you, Jason.
Because like there are other things. It just seems like he's copping out and being like, no, I'm better than you. I'm moving to do other things.
And how dare you turn your back on video games, to be honest.
Right.
After everything Shigeru Miyamoto did for you.
Your video games and you're guilty.
Throw this motherfucker in the brig. Off with his head.
Guilty. You talked me into it. You're a good judge.
Thank God we came around on that. I was worried this guy's going to get off scotch-free, but he's not. We're going to punish this little shit.
Yep. And you know what his punishment's going to be?
What?
Never allowed to play a video game in his life. He's done. Video games are done.
Which right now he thinks that's no problem, but
think about it. Never again. That means like, if he has a significant other that's into gaming, sorry, can't play that video game with you. If you have a kid, can't play video games with your kids.
This extends to anything that is gamified.
Yep.
So if you sign up for an office job and they have a system where like you gain points for good, you can't work there.
It's funny that we both went with the work thing because I'm thinking like, if there's a video game that you have to train in your job, you can't train.
If you go to a gym and they like have some kind of a reward system, anything with a rewards card, you can't do it.
Can't use. He can't go to arcades. He can't go to casinos. He can't, can't play skee ball.
No, you can't play Uno. You can't play jacks, dominoes, mahjong. They're all literally off the table.
No drinking games. No, 21. Nothing. You're done.
I think solitary confinement in a room.
Nope. Because solitaire's a game.
You're right. There's got to be. But if there's someone else in there, that's a 2-player game.
Shit.
I think we got to just sentence him to death.
Oh well. Huh.
I don't think it's too strong in this case. Well, I think it's obvious. The answer is death penalty.
Or, you have to go and clear all your gaming history. All your save files have to be deleted.
Certainly you don't want to see all your gaming porn.
What?
Those are our verdicts, but if you're watching this show on YouTube or perhaps listening by your podcast app of choice, we'd love to hear what you think about this case. Can you put yourself in these shoes? Have you had a falling out with a gaming group or a love of gaming that has left you? And what's that been like? I'd be very interested to hear those stories. You can email us. Our email address is geeksontrial@gmail.com. That's also where you can go to submit your own geeky case, whether it relate to video games, board games, or any other geeky subculture. We want to hear about it. We will read it on the show, if it's good.
Hey, and what?
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Hey, games is expensive and we need money to buy games. So we would like it if you supported the show by giving us just a few bucks a month by heading over to patreon.com/geeksontrial. That's how you can support the show, gain early access, and there's going to be a new show coming to our Patreon very shortly. So we'll announce that in the upcoming weeks or months. So yeah, thank you for supporting the show if you do. And if you don't, what are you doing with your money? It's $3.
Come on.
That's like a pumpkin spice latte.
Not even. Those are $3.50 these days.
Oh, well, there might be tax. I don't know how Patreon.
If you would like to follow us, you can check out the links in our description for all our socials. And me personally, you can follow at Jonathan Estes on Threads and even on Blue Sky now. We are jumping around to all whatever. We're like hermit crabs finding new shells.
Many. There are too many social medias now.
Just go to my website, jonathanestes.com, for all the shit I do.
All the shit you do, and for all the shit I do, you can head on over to ivanhan.com, and new Snack Guy episodes coming out sporadically on youtube.com/The Snack Guy. Catch me there, sucker.
Weird energy at the end of this episode, I feel.
Yeah. Well, because I want to go game. I need to go game right now.
We're going to get you back into gaming, and I hope that you all out there get back into gaming, because that's it. There's no more of this episode. I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Ivan Hahn, and this has been Geeks on Trial. Catch you next time.